Jesse Waters gave his take on why some Democrats cannot wait for a potential arrest of the former president.
Right now, Democrats are setting up what's going to be the most famous picture in American history: Donald Trump's mugshot. The most controversial president of all time will be the first president to have a mugshot if Democrats have their way. The Daily Mail reports Trump will be indicted tomorrow and arraigned next week. And Democrats are already drooling. Biden's going to use Trump's mugshot in every campaign ad from now until next November. It's going to be on the front page of every newspaper and lead story of every network and cable show. Democrats will print T-shirts up and put it on billboards. It's going to be the most famous meme of all time. And once it's released, it's going to be the most viral image ever.
All right, you heard the first line that I said of this hour, and we don't know why the process has been canceled for today. But Emily, we do know that some things were already set in motion. So it could be many reasons why they would cancel going forward with the grand jury for this day. There was at least one other witness that might be called.
That's right. So at this point, all things are on the table for why this was canceled, including a scheduled delay. We have to get that out there, right? But up to and including potentially the testimony yesterday of Robert Costello, who he went on the record and said, I told the grand jury that this guy, meaning Cohen, couldn't tell the truth if you put a gun to his head. He said he went in there attacking the prosecutors. He said they seemed clearly one-sided and not after the truth. He said that he testified again in front of the grand jury that prosecutors had cherry-picked information from a packet of more than 300 emails he had provided them. And he said at one point he waved around the packet to the grand jury and said, this is what you're missing. So at a minimum, we have a potentially theatrical testimony that the grand jury has heard on his behalf. Remember, he was an impeachment witness. And we don't know now what happened after that. Again, all things are possible, but it seems likely that at a minimum, that particular testimony had a big impact on the grand jury.
And an impeachment witness for Michael Cohen, because we know Michael Cohen to be someone who has criminally lied.
Right. Michael Cohen said, I never waived attorney-client privilege. And Costello said, oh, wait, here it is. And here's Michael Cohen's signature. Costello said, to Emily's point, that 5 or 6 grand jury members were nodding in affirmation as he spoke. This was information they had not heard. The prosecution was not interested in displaying, but they had an obligation to, and they did. We'll see what this means. I hope this grand jury delay, I hope it means that they're really taking in the idea of perhaps not indicting the former president. I won't hold my breath with Alvin Bragg, but the cornerstone of our American legal system is justice, is reasonableness. And you remember when Hillary Clinton was under fire for her emails, Jim Comey came out and said, although there's evidence of potential violation regarding the handling of classified information, our judgment is that no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case. Only an unreasonable prosecutor would bring this charge against the former president. The New York Times surveyed legal analysts and found, according to their research, that the New York DA's office in Manhattan has never brought a charge on a federal campaign violation before. This would be unprecedented, and you've got to think it would only happen because of the last name of the person that they're going after.
I need to interject here as well, just as a former federal and criminal attorney. This is really important for viewers to understand. Number one, to that point, that was the underlying charge upon which this was elevated to a felony. That's why, in part, it was so flimsy, yet untested in these waters. And secondly, reminder that over 98% of grand jury convenes result in an indictment. If this does not result in an indictment, it absolutely illustrates exactly what you just said, which is the flimsy nature of this presentation by the prosecution, how utterly preposterous it would be. And that would underscore, again, the waste of tax dollars and the political nature that this was brought to begin with.
Could indict a ham sandwich, as they say in law school.
Yes.
And this is a former president.
Exactly.
So what's interesting, too, about this for both of you, because and everybody really, but both of you on this legal point, is that when Cy Vance, former DA here in New York City, and when the Justice Department and even in his employ as well, Alvin Bragg, passed on the initial case many years ago, they were saying some similar things about that case because hush money isn't technically against the law in the state. So it was already flimsy. That's the perfect word. They then went to this next level campaign. They tried to bring some other things into it. Why do all of that flexing? Are some of those who are watching this correct when they say this is purely politics. That's been a lot of the drumbeat from Republicans.
Well, as you saw in that montage we showed a moment ago, this is a political fantasia that some have been wanting to see lived out for years. This is Mueller. This is the January 6th investigation. This is election collusion and Russia collusion. It's all of that in one ball. And they're trying to now force it into not only a flimsy case, but a case that hinges, and people should make note, on a porn star and a disbarred lawyer who is caught lying and spent time in federal prison for it. I mean, when this is what you're standing this case on, the first time in history against a president of the United States, former or current, I think you've got to go in with better ammunition than that, just on a legal level. But the fantasia, the political pressure to get him on anything, get him now, drag him, give him the perp walk, that wanting to shame this particular president is, I think, a sought-after wish that they want under any circumstance.
Well, and when you say they, you mean those Democrats who would want this. When I say him, I mean Alvin Bragg.
Oh, yeah.
He knows better because he's already looked at this case. So it really does bog the mind of whether or not, and I've been saying it, there will be an indictment at all. Tammy, I see you nodding over there, but the idea of politics playing a role in this.
Sure.
Does this help Alvin Bragg, even if there's no indictment, if he loses the case, whatever happens? Does this help him?
The Democrats are always focused on winning a news cycle. They look at it from news cycle to news cycle, day to day. You see all the bad news for Joe Biden, all the bad news for the Democrats, a banking crisis. China's meeting with Russia. They're having a party. The world is crumbling a bit. This is a great distraction, but it also proves Trump's point and the point of many Americans, certainly tens of millions of them, that our system is geared to go after people. It's not geared for justice at this point. We want that to come back. We want real law and order. We want real justice. Yes. And if they are willing, and this is an argument from communities of color, from black men, that the system has a goal and they get that goal and then they just move through and that human beings don't matter. If they're willing to do this to the President of the United States, a former president, they will do it and are doing it to everyone else. Now, that creates a legitimacy issue because that's not the case everywhere. But this is what Americans are watching as the President of the United States sometimes lies to us. We look at this and Americans know, and even the left knows, even Chris Rock at the Mark Twain Prize said to at the Kennedy Center to a room full of Democrats and Nancy Pelosi, are you guys really going to do this to Trump because this is going to get him reelected and this is what he wants? Everybody howled. They laughed. It was funny. And it was the Democrat Washington establishment in Washington laughing. Everyone knows what this is, and so do the American people.
All right, some more notes from our reporters now. The grand jury is on standby for tomorrow. And our reporting team has also found a second court source confirming that the district attorney's office has canceled the grand jury proceedings for today. The grand jurors were notified this morning, and they are on standby again for tomorrow. The source did not know the reason for the cancellation. Kind of bringing us back, Emily, to where we were. It could be any number of things, or it could be simply nothing at all. It could have been a scheduled one.
Right. And reminder, they meet Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. So the next time they're on standby for tomorrow, as you just said. So the next time after that they would be convened, if so, would be Monday.
All right.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.